Hello again and welcome back to another episode of Void City Customization. I am Dan. Today we are going to be completing a custom Peacemaker action figure. This is going to be a custom McFarlane Toys Peacemaker, and I'm going to be using as a base the Unmasked Peacemaker that comes with the Suicide Squad Build-A-Figure wave, and basically making it look more like John Cena, giving it a cool accessory, and also giving it something it should have had from the movie and from the show all along. So I just kind of wanted to get this video done and get this figure done just as a tie-in with the show, because I've been watching that on HBO and it's pretty good. I really like it, so I figured I needed a figure that looked a lot more like he's supposed to look. Unfortunately, the McFarlane Toys head sculpt that comes with this figure it does not look like John Cena. I don't know what happened there. Maybe there's something where WWE has the rights to make the likeness of him for action figures, so maybe they had to make it look a little bit different and just look kind of like John Cena, but not exactly. I don't know what the deal is. All I know is that the figure that comes with the helmet, it looks like John Cena, but then when you look at the face that's under that helmet, it's the exact same face that's on the unmasked John Cena figure, and it looks nothing like him. So that's why I'm switching it out today and showing you how to do that as well. So let's jump right in here, because there's a couple of different things we're going to fix on this figure, and we're going to give him some of the accessories that he should have come with all along. So taking a look at this figure here, as you can see, I've already done the head switch and given him the accessory of being able to hold his helmet separately from his own head. So now you can have an actual unmasked version where he still has the helmet that he can hold, which is nice. And I also have a gun here. The gun is not quite finished. There's something I want to finish off on there. And what we're also going to do today is we're going to finish painting this figure, because this blue detail on the side should go up into the belt. It's sculpted on the sides here, but it's not painted. So I'm going to paint that. And I'm also going to take a look at giving him a holster that he should have on the side of his leg here from his belt for his gun. So we're going to do that today as well. I'm also going to show you where this head came from and how to switch that out, and where this helmet came from and how to get that without damaging it, and also where this gun came from and where the holster piece came from. And again, today, aside from his head that we're going to use, these are all McFarlane Toys parts. So for the most part, I met my criteria of making this a McFarlane figure, but I just could not stand for that head sculpt. Usually the McFarlane head sculpts are good. Even if they don't look like the person, you can repaint them and then it fixes it, because that's what the problem usually is. It's just the paint application is poor. But in this case, it just wasn't the shape of John Cena's head, so I had to give him a real John Cena face. And we'll just talk about that right here at the beginning. So obviously WWE has been making John Cena action figures forever, and they usually, for the most part, look really good. He's one of the wrestlers in the company that they usually give the most attention to, how well the likeness of his action figure matches their actual face. So usually John Cena action figures look a lot like him. Now, most John Cena figures, he's smiling, making a big goofy grin, looking happy, because John Cena's a big happy goofy grinning guy. But every once in a while you'll come across one where he's kind of frowning or looking angry, and kind of got lucky with this figure. So I used this guy. This is a WWE Legends John Cena figure, Series 10, the true effects with the faces. So, I got this figure right here. I'll throw up a closer look at it too. Here's kind of the back. On the figure, in the packaging, there is a head that's supposed to look like John Cena on his debut night. So the hair is all shaved up on the sides and faded up, and he looks a lot younger, and he's smiling and happy. The extra head that would have been right here is this one that is right here on this figure now. So it's one of the few John Cena heads that you tend to see where he's looking more serious or even possibly angry. And the good thing about this is the head from the present day John Cena when he was filming a lot of these movies. And so his hair was a little bit longer and kind of matched what it looked like in the Suicide Squad, and also even in Peacemaker a little bit. So not only does the hair look a lot closer to what it should look like in the movie, but he looks more serious, which matches the figure. and it's the right scale. A lot of the WWE heads are the correct scale to go with McFarlane Toys 7-inch figures, which is really nice because especially now that a lot of the wrestlers are probably going to start showing up in superhero movies, you might be able to switch out heads, get different expressions and whatnot. So that's the story of where his head came from. Now that was pretty much just a straight switch, and I actually have not fully attached this yet, so I could show you guys this time how that works underneath there. So on the McFarlane figure for this guy, this is actually, I didn't use the unmasked version of this figure to make this. I actually used the masked version, and I'll tell you why in a little while, which you could probably guess already. So did the same thing where you got the hot water, which I show you. I just use a mug just like this, just a little mug right here. Fill it up to the top pretty much, just, you know, a little bit, like 1/2 inch from the top. Put it in the microwave for 3 minutes. Then bring it over here, get ready to work. That's for if I just have to do some minor changes, minor swaps really quick. If I'm going to do something where I have to dunk a whole figure, or I need to keep going back and forth for a while and I don't want to keep reheating, that's when I'll get like a saucepan or something from the stove, and I'll heat that whole thing up. I'll just have that down here and I'll be able to keep that for a while because that stays warm a lot longer. So anyways, just dip them in there, and that way you can just pop the old head right off. So I just pulled the original Peacemaker masked head off of there, and that gives you this sort of a look right there. As you can see, that's kind of always how those look underneath there. So the peg is still plugged into the neck. That's pretty much how I always want to start off when I'm doing these figures. I just have better luck with that. So I didn't have to do anything at all for the John Cena head because he just comes in the package as a head, which is nice. Now, these don't match up exactly. Inside of there is just kind of a little hole in the ones for the WWE figures are a lot bigger on their peg. It's basically the same system. It's like a peg with a ball on the top of there, but theirs is bigger and it's a lot different kind of a plastic that's a lot harder. So this head, it won't stay on this without some sort of adhesive type of measures, but it will fit right on otherwise. As you can see, it just goes right on there. So that works. A lot of times if they do that, I'll just leave it, because I mean then you can still move it however you want, move it all around. He still does everything. You just gotta be careful about dropping him, because then his head will go flying off. Otherwise, if I were going to affix this, in the past, things that I have done, I have used just a little drop of hot glue right on the top of this, on the peg, and then just pop it right on there, and then that way it still kind of moves around from the bottom joint, and then you can still turn it from the bottom one. Sometimes you just got to be careful. Another trick I've heard people do is they will use like the green or blue, I guess, from my childhood. I don't know if it's still blue anymore. Sticky tack, if that's even what it's called anymore. That little sticky stuff that you would use to like stick papers to walls in classrooms and stuff like that. A lot of people use that. They'll just put a little blob of that in there, stick it on there. That way, again, it's kind of stuck on, but you can still move it all around. You could still glue it on if you wanted, and it would still be posable from the bottom angle again from that peg. So either way, you can just do whatever you want, get whatever result you want out of that. But like I said, I just left it off for now so I can show you guys what that looks like. So new head on there, and that actually looks like John Cena with more appropriate hair. It even kind of looks like he's got a little bit of helmet hair, which is nice, because I wanted to have him be able to hold his Peacemaker helmet, because that is obviously one of the most important things to go with his arsenal. You couldn't really have Peacemaker without the helmet. It's not like he would just not bring it with him. So that's why I used the masked one again for this. And what I did was I took the mask off of the original head. So again, I just dropped the whole head once I had taken it off into the hot water. I left that in there for about 2 minutes just to get it really pliable. Right after I took the water out of the microwave, then I pulled it out of there, and with a needle nose pliers, I just went to the back and grabbed the very edge of the skin on the back of his head, which was sticking out the bottom, and just pulled it out. And it's just glued up here along this top edge, usually where like hair would be glued on for a lot of these figures. So inside there, that just peeled right out. And I didn't grab the helmet at all with any of the pliers because I didn't want to damage or get any scuffs on there. And then if it gets a little bit deformed from pulling on it, once it's cooled, then all you do is just, I dunked that again in the water for about a minute, pulled that back out. It had retained its original form, just set it down, let it cool, and now I've got a Peacemaker helmet. Obviously, it's not going to fit over this John Cena head because of the shape of it, his hair. It's too big without significantly having to hollow this out somehow with a Dremel or something. And I'm sure it could be done, but you have to be super careful not to bust through the surface of the outside of it. And it's just not something I think that's worth doing. He's unmasked. He's supposed to be. I've got the masked one also, so it's fine. I mostly just wanted him to be able to hold his helmet like that, so now he can. And here underneath there again is the face, and it's the exact same face that the unmasked John Cena head has for Peacemaker. The only difference is this one has a slight little divot on his nose where the bridge of the mask kind of rests, and I think that's just to make sure that the figure lines up inside the helmet correctly when they're assembling them. Other than that little ridge on the nose, it's the exact same face, and as you can see, that does not look like John Cena. It kind of just looks like some guy. But that's the weird thing, is when it has the helmet on, it looks like John Cena. That's strange, at least to me. I think it's convincing enough. You can tell it's supposed to be John Cena with the helmet, and then once you take it off, it just looks like some guy. Okay, what is next? Let's see here. So, next, one thing, obviously, Peacemaker has his gun. Now, as you've probably noticed with a lot of the recent McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figures, they don't come with guns anymore. They'll come with swords or alternate hands that make finger guns, or, you know, pretty much anything. Sometimes they even have holsters for guns that they don't come with. They have the trigger hands for the guns they're supposed to come with, but they don't anymore. So that's kind of a thing Warner Brothers passed down. They didn't really want to be marketing little guns to kids. So despite trying to be accurate and all the packaging saying, you know, these are not toys, not meant for children, whatever, they still won't do it. I wanted him to have the gun he's supposed to have, so I made that. So this is one of the guns from, it's just a silver, like Desert Eagle looking gun. And on the sides here, I've actually shaved down the little bat logos that were on there. I didn't really want those on there. I just trimmed those down with my X-Acto blade, just tried to flatten them out. And one of the other things that would be missing then was he should have a holster on the side of his belt for his gun. Now, online there are websites where you can find custom 3D printed and painted belts that you can replace for this with the holster. You can replace, they even make his gun with the silencer and all that. You can get those, and those are really cool, and I almost went that route, but then I thought, I think it'd be really cool to just make that myself, see if I can do it. So that's why I'm doing that. If this doesn't work, and I ruin this whole video, and this is terrible, then I'll probably just start over again and order those. Anyway, I want to make a holster for him. And I was trying to think what I could use to make that holster. If I could find anything that's already blue so I wouldn't have to paint it, that would be ideal. And it came to mind, there is a Wonder Woman figure with a scabbard for her sword on her belt, and I wondered if maybe that could be trimmed and used in some way that would be useful to me, because it's pretty much the totally right color I'd want it to be. So that's what I've got right here in the water already. I just wanted to make sure I got that the right shape because it was a little bit deformed. So that is what that is right here, and that comes from either the Last Night on Earth or the Dr. Fate Wonder Woman figure, and that would just go right on her belt. This plug right on the top just goes right on under skirt, and that goes right on there. So I just pop that right off there. And what I'm hoping to do is to use this plug to plug it into the side of his thigh, where I'm going to use a drill to make a small hole, and then I will glue it in there. And I'm going to trim it so that it fits the gun correctly, so that way this gun will be able to go into this holster. Now, obviously right now it kind of sticks out at the top, looks sort of weird. I don't really want that so much. So what we're going to do for that is I'm going to trim down on the inside here just enough, a little square out of there, so that the trigger guard can go down inside there. So let's get to work on that. Now this, you're going to want to be very careful. I'm going to use my X-Acto blade here. Very sharp, so be very careful. I'm just going to sort of mark where I want to go, and then I want to be really careful because I don't want to trim any more than I have to and ruin this, because I don't have an extra one lying around right now. This is the one piece that I've got to do this with. So here we go. I need to make some cuts here. Very weird, I've never done a live figure before, even though this isn't live, but still, this plastic really wants to bend on me. So what I'm going to do is actually employ another tool, Got some very small little scissors here. So now that I've made 2 of the initial cuts, I'm just going to use these to cut away. So that way I'm not bending or trying to cut against a plastic that's moving on me, because that is very hard to do and I don't want to slip. Cut myself. You guys probably noticed already how often I've covered in just these blue band-aids all the time. I have to use a box cutter at work, and there's a lot of sharp things and splinter things and just all sorts of things I deal with on a daily basis at my job. So along with using a razor blade for this all the time, there's a lot of room for accidents. So that is why you constantly see me with all those blue band-aids on my fingers. I'm just trying to hide what are already big goofy looking hands. I don't want you guys to see all the gory aftermath. That's not necessary. Alright. Alright, so let's see how this works now. Hey, look at that. That's exactly what I wanted. So now that goes right down to the trigger guard, up into the side there, and holds that shape. So the next thing I want to do is cut off the bottom to get the right length of that. So now that the gun's in there, it's one positive thing about being able to see the inside. So I'll cut that bottom edge off. I'll just place this right down, and I'll use the X-Acto blade, basically just to slice right through there. Alright, so I took the end off of there. I've got this edge here. I'm just going to clean this up just a little bit. Again, be very careful when working with blades of any kind. So now, we got this, and it looks like there's straps around there, which is really cool. I think that works out well. Strap around the top, gun plugs right in. Now I've got a holster. So now we've got to affix this to the Peacemaker's leg and get it in the right spot. I'm going to move his arms out of the way. I'm going to take his head off for now so it doesn't get lost. I'm going to take his stand off, so we don't need that right now. For this, I'm going to put the gun in the holster because I want to see exactly where it's going to go. To know exactly what height I want to put it at. So I want to put in this top one. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to plug it right into this top section of the pattern on his pants there. So I'm going to make a starting point right in the center, and how we usually do that. This is just so that the drill doesn't wander. I always do this when I'm drilling something on a figure especially. So just kind of go like that. Now you've got that starting point. So there's a little tiny hole right there, so now your drill has somewhere to go. So now I've got to find the correct drill bit for this piece. So I've got my drill bit set here. What I'm going to do is basically just match up, and would you look at that? So that's a 1/4 inch right there. Perfect. That worked out well. I just use a drill for this. Some people may use like a little Dremel or hand tools of some kind. I just always use a drill. It gets the job done fast. Now you don't have to go in very far. This peg is, again, very small, so I'm just going to go in about far enough to where this can go right up to his thigh, and then it'll sit there. So that way I won't go all the way through his leg, and I won't mess up any of the inner workings of his leg, I hope. Let me just double check real quick that I'm not going to mess anything up by doing this. Well, I might. Well, let's see what happens, folks. Alright, so we're going to drill right into his leg here. Now, so far so good. Let's see how far we are so far, because again, I don't want to go too far. See, alright, that's really clean. It makes really nice hole right there. And this will plug right in there. I might not even have to use glue on this, which would be awesome. So it needs to go a little bit further in. So let's get it going again on that. Oh, a little bit too far maybe. Like I said, I have not done this one before, so mistakes might happen. I don't think we made a big one. Doesn't appear that we did. Just went a little bit far and it got caught in the plastic. That happens sometimes too. Alright, that looks like it's perfectly deep enough. Yeah, okay, that's as far as we can go too, because I did bust through almost the internal workings of the leg. So that's about as far as we can go with the drill. But like I said, from the looks of it, I do believe, I feel like a dentist. scraping out this little cavity here. Alright, so let me see if I can show this. As you can see, I almost went through there. That would have been a bit worse had I gone farther, but I stopped just in time. So that should be perfect as far as I can tell. Let's see. Alright, so I'm going to trim just a little bit off the edges of this holster here. Alright, let's see. Now that I've trimmed the edge of that a little bit, it plugs right in there. Perfect. And actually, yeah, that's sturdy. I'm not even going to glue that. Not even going to glue it. And there we go. Now, Peacemaker has his gun where he's supposed to have it. Very nice. That's something I just thought of to do about half an hour ago, so that works out very well. So take his gun out of there, and that's in his leg, and that blue matches up pretty well. That's close enough where I don't even care. Now, curiosity has just got me to remember that in the past I have taken one of these scabbards off a different Wonder Woman figure, and I cut that peg off of the scabbard, and I still had that peg there because what I did was I plugged it back into the hole that was on the skirt, so that then it didn't show up on the skirt, so it looked like there was nothing there at all. So now I have that extra piece. So if I want, I could just take that off, and I think, yeah, look at that. So if I want, I could just plug that up, and then you wouldn't have to look at it anymore. I might just sand that down. There's a little L on there right now, but it also makes like a little arrow, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, they can just plug right in there and cover that up. So if you don't want to have your holster showing, there you go. I can have both versions now. That's really cool. I'm going to save that piece. So now that we have the holster done, now we've solved that problem, which is really nice. We have the new head, which is really nice. I'm going to do a little painting on this figure. Some of the painting we're going to eventually do will be to fix the skin color, because the skin tone on the face is just a little bit darker than the skin tone on the neck and the arms. It's not noticeable enough that I really care about it presently, but eventually I will probably dirty up the arms, may add some like blood and injuries and whatnot. At that point I'll dirty up the neck a little bit, and that way it'll match the face a bit more, but we're not going to worry about that today. Today I'm worried simply about pieces of the costume that are not painted that should be. I'm going to make his belt buckle silver, and I'm going to finish the blue that goes up the sides of his pants and then up the side of his outfit there, because there should be blue on the side there, and there isn't. And that bothers me. So first, I'll need to select my colors. I've got a paint tray here, and I've got my colors here. So I've got some game colors, again, it's the one I use a lot, and some model color. These are all by AV. So I've got dark Prussian blue, and I've also got silver. So I think I'm going to do the silver first. So I'm also going to touch up his gun. So I got silver, very little. Got my itty bitty detail brushes here. So I'll lean his torso back so he's not touching the belt there. So that way he'll be out of the way. Get some silver paint, and very carefully try to stay just on that buckle. I'm hoping this paint adheres. I did not try that out beforehand, and I probably should have. That is a problem sometimes. These paints will not adhere to certain plastics every once in a while. It's got like a silver belt buckle. That's nice. That's more accurate. I So we're going to let him dry for a minute. Hopefully that will dry. So now I want to fix these little bats on the gun there, as you can see where I trimmed them down just to make them flat. I'm going to paint those. One thing I will have to be careful of is when these go in and out of the holster, is that one's probably scrape this paint right off of there. Alright, so that's pretty well covered up now for the most part. So I'll leave this to dry for a moment also. Balance it on these scissors here so that both sides are not touching anything. Next is the blue on the sides of his pants. Let's do that. Alright, let's try this blue. This actually looks really good. Move his arms out of the way. Got a little brush. Obviously, I will edit through a lot of this because I am no Bob Ross, and this is probably incredibly boring to watch. Now it's got the blue on the sides of them. That's fixed. Good, the silver seems like it is adhered well, which is nice. Well, there we go. I think we are pretty much done. So I'm going to plug his holster back in to his leg. It does, it goes right flush up against his leg, which is real nice. I think that came out really well. Especially because you can take it on or off if you want. The other thing I really got to be careful about is just scraping his shirt along the top edge of the belt there on the silver. I'll just watch that as best as I can. This is how I had him posed at the start of the video. Only now, he is done. Alright, so I'm just going to break in here really quick at the end of this video with a couple of upgrades I've added since I shot this video. So, at the end of this, the way I left off, his belt still wasn't quite as close to the show and the movie as it could have been, and I still didn't have a proper weapon for him. I had a pretty close one, but I wanted one that looked better. For the belt, I had a couple of pouches from different figures, pieces I had laying around, and whatnot. So, there's a couple of different ones here. These were different colors. These front two were red, and this back one was actually black when I started. Lifted up his arms so you guys could see those. But I painted them that same blue color that I used to finish the pants details and glued those onto his belt. I will probably still go back in where you guys can see a little bit of glue around the edges there and paint over that a tiny bit. It's hardly visible, but I just added a little bit more glue to reinforce it because it is only glued on. I didn't use any kind of screws or nails or anything, so it should hold pretty well though. I mean, it is Gorilla Glue, and that typically holds fairly well for me in the past. So either way, now he's got some pouches. I was going to put the other one, I'm not sure if it's a baton, like a collapsible baton, or if it's his silencer. I know these front two pouches are supposed to be his ammo clips. I didn't have little ammo clip pouches. I may actually update this once I get the new Red Hood figure, because I think the new Red Hood figure has ammo clips on the back of him, and he does not come with guns either. so I'm sure I might end up with more than one of him, and maybe I will update this guy's belt at that point. Otherwise, I just wanted to have like the 2 main pouches and then another little one on the back there. So at least there's something on there, so it's a bit more accurate. And I think altogether it looks pretty good. For his weapon, this is pretty much done. I've repainted it again. Not perfect again, but gets the job done, I think. Silver with the silencer on the front. So what that is that's the same gun, and I actually chopped off the very end of it, and then I took another one of the guns and I cut off the end of that gun and basically drilled a hole through both pieces and put a metal pin through there, and then lined them both up onto there, then drilled holes into this part, which is the end of this gun that comes with the first Joker McFarlane figure, that really long revolver. So all I did was drill the hole in the end of it there so it looks like a proper barrel and not just flat, and then I drilled a hole in the other end so I could stick that pin on there. So there is a metal pin running through the whole thing to help keep it sturdy. Then it's all glued together, and then I painted over that. Obviously, if I wanted to make the gun a little bit more accurate, what I could do is paint the grips white and put the Dove of Peace on there, but I'm not going to do that because I believe all that paint would rub off while I put the gun in his hand, like so. So there you go, there's a finished look at him. That is a proper John Cena head sculpt on top of the Peacemaker body. You can use either the masked or the unmasked. I used the masked just because I wanted to get that helmet off so he could hold the helmet in his hand. And then I put the holster on, fixed up his belt, gave him his proper gun, because he should have a gun and not a sword. And there we go. The only step left now is to dirty up the skin a little bit so it matches the darker skin tone of the face. But I will do that another time off camera. You guys get the point on that one. It's not even something you really notice when you don't have these bright lights shining on it. But anyways, back to our normally scheduled program. I just wanted to show you guys that quick little update. So 4 figures went into this. You had your WWE figure from Mattel, who you got the head from. And like I said, that was clearance at Target for $6, so that was real nice. This was the masked John Cena Peacemaker figure from the Suicide Squad from McFarlane Toys. And I used the masked version again so I could have his helmet here by taking that off of the head because it is a separate piece from the head itself. I also have a gun from the... either one of them. They both came with guns back then. And the last figure that you would need something from, at least for me, was that Wonder Woman. Either the Last Night on Earth Build-A-Figure Wonder Woman or the Dr. Fate version. Either one of them has the scabbard that goes on the side of their belt. Well, I just trimmed that up, like I said, drilled a hole, stuck that in there, and now it's a holster for Peacemaker. And there you have it. So that's how you can make a more accurate, better accessorized Peacemaker figure. And hopefully some of those methods help you guys in your quest to make your own customs. And I will definitely keep at it myself. Like I said, I've still got some pretty big projects coming around the corner. And I've got plenty of other ones that are already done that I can show off. So, like I said, stick with us every Thursday. We'll have some more customization for you. Until then, like and subscribe so you can see all our videos that come out. We got stuff 4 or 5 days a week pretty much. And other than that, thank you for watching. We love the continued support, and we will keep on reviewing toys and making figures and looking at comic books and talking about movies with you guys. So until next time, I am Dan. This has been Void City Customization, part of Void City Reviews. We will see you next time.